Hello there, my loyal subscribers. Now, today I will be mentioning the entire history of Australia. So, if you don't know, I live in Australia and I live in the city of Melbourne. So, here's how the entire continent later became one state. In 1901, after many years of under British colony and rule, the colonies united under a single federation named Australia. Also, New Zealand and Fiji didn't even join the state. So, after this, in the 1901 federal election, which resulted in the Protectionist Party under Edmund Barton defeating the Free Trade Party led by George Reid. So, Edmund Barton became the first prime minister in Australian history. But however, 2 years into his power, he decided to retire from politics. So this led the power on to Alfred Deakin. Later, more prime ministers later, we're up to 1914. That year, Europe is getting a bit of attention after the Archduke had been assassinated. And this led to Austria-Hungary declaring war on Serbia, which, after a few more war declarations, Australia was still under the Commonwealth of the UK, so they would obviously join the war, and they would form what is known as the Anzac Corps, which was sent out to take out the German New Guinea. And they successfully defeated German New Guinea, and they later took the area. However, one of Australia's failed goings was when they tried to take the Gallipoli Peninsula along with every other soldier, and this resulted in a defeat after 8 months of intense fighting. Australia later on went to win the war, and it managed to gain New Guinea as its League of Nations mandate. So, after this, Australia was basically fine, but not so fine after Labour kicked out its Prime Minister and expelled him, that is the Billy Hughes guy. And later, Billy Hughes retired from politics, just like her first Prime Minister, so this gave Stanley Bruce a chance to win 1925. Now entering into the 1930s with the Great Depression. And yes, I'm going to mention the bit of a funny war that happened in Australia, the Emu War. Well, basically, Australia lost the war to a pack of emus. So imagine going to war with some other animal. Oh yeah, in 1933, Jack Lang of New South Wales wanted to cut a ribbon to open the Sydney Harbour Bridge, still in modern-day Sydney. However, a man named Francis de Groot managed to cut the ribbon before he did, and Francis de Groot was immediately arrested. So now, in 1939, just after the Prime Minister died, another Prime Minister takes over, and then Menzies decides to go it's game time. World War II began after Germany invaded Poland with the USSR. And Japan was obviously a threat because they are friends with Germany. So, after Japan just triggers US into a war, the Prime Minister, well, basically Menzies, decides to leave politics, and then Arthur Fadden takes over, and then later out. And then Prime Minister John Curtin fears an invasion made by the Japanese. Luckily, this never happens, and Australia wins the war again. So entering into the modern days, Australia still is a bit on its way. And that was the history of Australia voiced over by me. Like and subscribe.